They traveled through unknown waters, reaping rewards of exotic pleasures, revealing pillage and terror. Order and disorder raged in battle. They saw the spoils of crime, the ruthless, the reckless. They saw something like nothing they'd seen before. Law enforcement, Caribbean, Des Parrot in Pirate Adventure. Now showing for you only at Drayton Manor Park. Don't miss it.
Just seeing the ride in that TV advert brings back so many fond memories from when I was a kid, going to Drayton Manor and riding Pirate Adventure. I'm Sean Sandbrook and welcome to the first video in this brand new series where I'm going to be remembering some of my favourite theme park attractions that are no longer with us. I'm going to be talking about some of the rides that have closed, that I've got some amazing memories from, and I'm going to be sharing them memories in these videos with all of you guys. Along with that, we'll talk about the ride's history, put some facts in there as well, and also a bit about why the rides have closed as well. Now I'm going to be starting off this series with a video all about Pirate Adventure at Drayton Manor, a ride that I was really fond of when I was a kid. I absolutely loved it, and it's also very relevant to something that's actually happening this week. Now Drayton Manor are actually having an auction this week where they're going to be selling off some of the items from inside Pirate Adventure. I actually went to the park just a couple of days ago to go and preview some of these items, and it was like a step back in time, bringing back so many memories. And I've actually got some footage of some of the items from inside the ride that you can get your hands on at the auction as well. So I'm going to be talking all about that later on in the video. Firstly, let's talk about the history of the ride and some of my memories from Pirate Adventure. The ride opened in 1990, and throughout the late 80s there was quite a lot of theme parks out there that wanted to be Disney. They wanted to put in a lot of Disney inspired rides. It wasn't just Drayton Manor, there was a lot of parks doing it. Europa Park in Germany, that springs to mind with a lot of their attractions in the late 80s, early 90s. And Drayton Manor wanted their own version of Pirates of the Caribbean. So that's what they did. They went to a company that we're all familiar with called Mack Rides to build the actual boat system itself. They used different theming companies to put the theming together, and in 1990 they opened their own UK version of Pirates of the Caribbean, and it was done to a really good quality. Now the ride located within the Pirate Cove themed area of the park, like I say, with it being built by Mack Rides, you know you were going to get the quality and the scale of it. These big 16-seater boats, really good capacity, they could bring multiple on the system, and it was a massive scale ride for the UK. At the time, I don't think the UK had seen anything like it scale-wise, because it was just like Pirates of the Caribbean, the way it was all put together, the theming and my memories of it, and going on it as a kid for the first time. Bear in mind, I hadn't been to Disney at that point. I didn't know anything about Pirates of the Caribbean. I just wanted to go to Drayton Manor and ride on Pirate Adventure. Now it was a 6-minute ride that featured one drop, and the whole sort of theme of the ride was done in a few different sections. So let's just talk about those now. So I'll always remember walking up that queue line, and it wasn't just like going up some steps, it was like a ramp what sort of went back on itself and up into the station area. I remember seeing pirates and all like ropes and stuff hanging down, and going into the station and just seeing boats emerging without people on. That was magical to me, like just seeing these boats coming up, because it had an offload at the bottom of the lift hill, and then of course the onload was here, and it went down the drop towards the start of the ride. So you got to think the lift hill you never actually experienced as a rider, and to me I really liked that. That's something that you don't get at Disney. You know, at Disney you go up the lift hill either at the start of the ride or later in the ride. With Pirate Adventure you didn't. You know, the lift hill you wouldn't know it existed. So these boats would just emerge into the station, all like castle style walls. It was like a fortress. But the one thing I really remember in that station is an animatronic parrot, and if you went on it you'll remember it. It was a funny parrot just going through like the safety rules for the ride, a couple of jokes, and then you'd be off and you'd bank round to the left for a very small scene at the top of the ride with all like flickering lights and pirate audio just to set the ambience, and then you'd go down that first drop and you'd really get the scale for this ride. It'd just open up out there in front of you, and you'd see this huge pirate galleon at the bottom. You'd enter into this pirate village, that was so well done. There was all these buildings, there was canopies, you know, there was explosions going off, and you make your way through this village where it all seemed quite quiet at first, into this pirate battle with this huge galleon. The cannons weren't just sitting there, they'd move backwards and come forward like on a track. There'd be smoke, there'd be all sorts of lighting effects. parks, and you'd feel like you're in the middle of this battle. Bear in mind, at this point, I'd not been outside of the UK to any theme parks, you know, and I was amazed as a kid, and I still look back on that now and think that was an absolutely incredible ride, and it was so well done. From that point, you'd sort of bank round to the right, go through various different scenes under bridges, lots of like buildings at the side. You might see in Pirates of the Caribbean, if you've been there, you'll remember, like, you know, buildings like catching fire, that sort of thing. That's kind of what they were going for, like archways and big windows, lots of scenes, animatronics. It was packed full of stuff going on. To be honest, like, you didn't know where to look. You know, you were looking around on this ride. It was just so well done. And then a scene that I really do remember was on the left-hand side, and you sort of banked to the left. And it was this bloke who was in like a barrel. So you had this man and his head just kept popping out. And then this lady would just like whack his head like with a broomstick, you know, and it was just, you know, so repetitive, because you normally see it like twice as you're going round or something, sometimes even 3 times from what I remember, but that's a scene that I really remember. And as much as I talk about Pirates of the Caribbean and this was their version of it, there were some parts of it that were actually very, very different, and the good thing was it was done of a very high standard, a real good quality. And then as you made your way throughout the ride, there was one scene what definitely was a bit of a rip-off of Pirates of the Caribbean, but we all loved it. At the time, I didn't know about it because I hadn't been on Pirates, you know. And at the Disney parks, you've basically got this scene where these pirates are in jail behind bars, and they're whistling to get this dog to put the keys in its mouth and bring them over to them so they can get themselves out of the jail. They had that scene in Pirate Adventure, however it was a goat instead, and you might see that goat a little bit later in the video, so stay tuned. But yeah, like, you had that scene, and that was the scene that was very, very close to what you can find on Pirates of the Caribbean. I just didn't know it at the time. You carry on round, and then you end up in these caves, and there was like a mast like falling over, like a big skull, and you go into these caves, and it was really well done animatronics, all like the gold, all the loot that the pirates had stolen. And then there'd be like a bit of a violin style soundtrack, and then you'd be back in the offload area, and like I say, the boat would then disappear up the lift hill, ready for the next riders. It was such a well done dark ride, it really was. And I think it opened in 1990. They spent an absolute fortune on putting the ride together. Now it's hard to find like official figures, but from people I was chatting to at the park, they said, you know, around 5 or 6 million pounds. You know, you think about that in today's money, that's maybe 15, 16 million pounds. You know, back in the day, that was a large amount of money to throw at a dark ride and not a roller coaster. Like, you know, you've got to think the 90s was really the years when the coasters really started to come to the UK. You know, but you look back then, it was a lot of money to spend at that park, you know, and I think it paid off for them, I really do. Now, some of my favourite memories from the ride, you know, some of my favourite parts of it that I really liked was going down that first drop and into that large show scene. For me, that just showed the scale of it. And if you go to the park to this day, you can go into Thomasland, go on some of the aerial rides in there looking over, and you can see the scale of that show building. And I'm hoping that it does get turned into something in the future. I'm sure it will do. But it is sad that the ride closed. And I'm sure you're all thinking, why did it close? Especially if you didn't get to experience it before. Now, the ride itself, of course, there's a lot of different rumours and speculation with different rides. And I'll tell you my story from when I went there. So it actually closed in 2015, and I went there just for a normal day out, and the ride was closed. Thought nothing of it. Maintenance issues. I thought, these things happen. You've got to expect it when you go to parks. And then I remember going back a few weeks later, and it was still closed. And at this point, it wasn't just the closed doors. They had like a, sorry, the ride's closed for maintenance board. And at this point, I was starting to think, it's been down for a while. And that was it. I never got to ride Pirate Adventure again. That's why when you go on these rides, you've got to make the most of it, take them memories in with you. So yeah, you know, they were my memories of it. And in terms of why the ride closed, there was a lot of different rumours and speculation. Some people saying the ride system needed a lot of money spending on it. The boats needed replacing. We know for a fact that some of the boats actually had work done to them before the ride closed, so that would have made sense. Other people were saying things like the fire regulations for the building, that sort of stuff. There was a lot of rumours, a lot of speculation at the time, but the ride did close, and we didn't know all throughout 2016, 17, 18 what the future was for the ride. Is it going to reopen again? Who knows? And then sort of got a bit of confirmation last year that they'd started to strip it out, and a few people at the park, you know, were saying, look, you know, it's never opening again. And the stuff was starting to be stripped out, and now we know why. The park were stripping it out not just to sell on to anybody and for scrap. They're actually going to do an auction and invite a lot of enthusiasts, people who are passionate about the ride, to come to this auction to have a chance to take away part of Pirate Adventure, and not just that, but some of the other attractions that have gone from Drayton Manor, and take away some items. I think that's absolutely fantastic that the park are giving us that opportunity. And at the time of recording this, I'm just a couple of days away from actually going to Drayton Manor to go and bid in this auction to hopefully get a couple of different items. I'd like something, at least one thing, just to sort of take away from there and have in my collection just from that ride that I can always remember and take with me. Now, the auction itself, I actually went there a couple of days ago. The park said, do you want to come down and have a look at the auction items? You can bring your camera, get some footage of it. And I just thought they were all going to be up in like the room ready for the auction. And that was it. But oh no, we put our high-vis jackets on. I was led down to Pirate Adventure, and I couldn't believe it. The doors were wide open. I'd not seen that since 2015. You know, the doors were wide open, and I thought, this is it. Like, we're going in Pirate Adventure. And obviously I knew we weren't going to get to see all the ride and everything, but just to see them doors open was incredible. And they'd actually brought all the items that were going to be for sale in this auction all around the entrance area, and you can see all the footage of that on your screen. But they brought all these items down, and I thought, I'm in my element here, like just seeing the doors open again. And it wasn't all stripped back. Like, there was a pirate still at the top in the entrance. Just as I remembered it, like just that last ride I had on it in early 2015, like it was just as I remembered. And I thought, oh my God, like it was amazing to see. And the items that were for sale, I mean, you've seen various shots there from the POV. See if you can match them up with some of the items. I mean, you've got the goat there from that famous scene in the ride. Along with that, you got a couple of different pirates, one from the station area, I believe, another one from inside the ride that's more sitting down. I think he's on like a treasure chest. Along with that, you got various different pieces of signage, some large set pieces, and so much more. But I tell you what, how nice is it that Drayton Manor, you know, haven't just scrapped it all off and never mentioned it again, but they're actually giving enthusiasts and people who want to have part of that ride and own part of that ride the opportunity to do so. I think that's incredible. So I'll definitely have to share a bit of an update for you all if I do get something from the auction. But yeah, I just wanted to start this series off and share my memories from Pirates Adventure. You know, 1990 to 2015, it had a good run. You know, it had a really good run. You got to think, some attractions don't last that long at all. With Pirate Adventure, you know, it went for many, many years. I mean, I wasn't born until 1993. I remember going in the mid to late 90s and riding it with my parents for the first time. But, you know, the fact that it stood the test of time, and, you know, it was only in its last few years that it really started to look like it needed a lot of work doing to it. But, you know, we've got the auction coming up. It's a great opportunity, and yeah, I look forward to sort of seeing where that goes. But I hope you've enjoyed just seeing them items there, and just having a look at them doors being open again, them huge wooden doors on the front of what was, at the time, the most advanced and amazing dark ride in the UK, you know, open once again for one last look before the rest of it's all stripped out, was special to me, and it really was. And I thank Drayton Manor for that, and I can't wait for the auction. But there we go. I hope you've enjoyed a bit of an insight into the history of Pirate Adventure at Drayton Manor, remembering that classic ride, sharing some of my memories from it. And yeah, I must say, I would love to know all of your memories from that ride. Comment down below on this video, share your stories and memories. What was your favourite scene? Is there something funny that happened whilst you're on the ride? I would love to know. And of course, there's going to be many more of these videos coming up throughout 2020, where I'm going to be talking about some of our rides that are no longer with us, but I'm going to be sharing my memories from them and a bit of history and a few facts, and giving them up with you guys. So here we go. Thank you very much for watching. I'm Sean Sandbrook, and that means it's time to cue those credits.